ended up building a really nifty app using TensorFlow that detects diseases in plants and helps farmers reduce crop devastation. Take a look.
Growing up in the city, I never expected to work in agriculture. But when fall armyworm attacked, it affected us all. Since its arrival in 2016, this crop pest has caused massive devastation. I've met farmers who have lost everything.
Tubadde tukozzaako ddagala okulaba nti akaako okulya ki kasooli naye akantu ako tekayinza kumalawo obulwadde obussebo.
So I wanted to use my skills as a software developer to help. At a Google Study Jam, we taught ourselves TensorFlow. We started by building an Android app on top of an open source API. The app allows farmers to spot infestations early, far beyond the capability of human eyes, and suggest an effective treatment. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but then I discovered app development, and I was excited to show people something they never thought possible. Machine learning gives us the advantage against fall armyworm, ultimately saving harvests and reducing pesticides.
Kunkyusizaamu kubanga taata oba jjajja teyali n'ennyumba y'ebbaati. N'ebbaati nazimba ennyumba yange nga tetoonya. Tulina essuubi ne tufuna embeera ennungi mu kulima.
We are just getting started, and there are so many other sectors like health and education that machine learning could really improve. Farming is a crucial aspect of life in Uganda, and I feel proud I'm part of a team driving to ensure our culture can continue.
Earlier, you saw a beautiful inspirational video about how machine learning and Android were used to create an app to detect crop diseases. So for DevFest, I wanted to get together a few of my friends from Google and beyond to show you how you could get started in building something just like that from scratch in a few minutes. We'll build an Android app and a web app. So to get started with Android, let's see what Chet can teach us.
I want to create an app that's able to recognize information about plants. It's going to need camera functionality as well as machine learning inference. Let's see what that looks like in code. The app is written in Kotlin and uses Camera X to take the pictures and MLKit for on-device machine learning analysis. The core functionality is in Take Photo, where we take a picture, analyze it, and display the results. First, we call Take Picture on a Camera X image capture object that was created earlier. One of the parameters is a callback object, which has this on-capture success function. We get the received image into the format we need for MLKit. Then we create an image labeler object and process the image. When this succeeds, we receive a collection of image labels, which we turn into text strings and display a toast with the results. Let's see what the demo looks like. So we'll take a picture and it says, I see an insect and a plant. So that was pretty easy, rigging up Camera X and MLKit to detect arbitrary objects in the camera view. But the results were pretty generic because the data set didn't have enough information about our domain. So let's dig a little deeper.
Okay, let's go deeper. Now we need a model for something very specific, detecting diseases in bean plants instead of cassava. Let's explore how to build it. On this guide, we will use some of the great TensorFlow tooling available. Let's start with Colab. You can understand Colab as a cloud-hosted development tool. We will do all our coding on it, and you will not need to install anything on your machine. Let's start with a new notebook. Let's just turn the title to beans. We will need to install some packages that we are going to use later. These packages are not installed on your machine. They are on a cloud machine that was created for your Colab. Nice, it finished installing the packages. Let's download the data and do some visualization to understand how our data is separated. Perfect. We download the data. Let's take a look on some of the images so we can have a better understanding of what we are doing here. Here they are. These are some of the images that will be used for training our model later. Now we have the data. We need to create a model. We are not going to create one from scratch. we are going to use a technique called transfer learning. TensorFlow Hub is a repository for TensorFlow models. You can find all kinds of models here. Let's start with this one. Let's go back to our Colab. Let's define a model handle. Nice. Now we have the data and the base model. How can we do transfer learning? To do that, we are going to use one of the tooling that I mentioned before called Model Maker. Model Maker makes your life way easier when you need to do transfer learning. Let's create the spec for our base model. Let's create our train variables here using the dataset beans that we've just seen. And now we're going to put everything together with Model Maker by defining a model with the training data and the spec that we got from TensorFlow Hub. This will take a couple of minutes. It finished training. And as you can see here, our accuracy is at 87%. Of course, let's evaluate the model with some data it didn't see yet and see how good it is. Nice, 95%.
The TensorFlow Lite model Gus just created contains all of the metadata Android Studio needs to recognize it and automatically build classes for it. To get started, you can update your build.gradle file to include the following TensorFlow Lite dependencies. Then, you'll want to import your generated TF-Lite file into the ML folder of your project. Let's check out the details of our imported model. From here, we can see an example of how to use the model in our app. Let's move over to the main activity class to take advantage of it. Inside of our image capture callback, here on line number 78, we create an instance of our model. Next, we use it to process the captured image here on line number 84. And finally, here on lines 92 through 98, we display the results of consuming the output inside of a toast message. Let's run our app. Now, instead of telling us it's looking at a leaf or a plant, it can actually tell us if it's looking at a bean leaf and give a diagnosis. Sweet.
So this concept works, but it's very much a raw demo. What if we want to make this a more successful app? Well, we'd probably need to add services like authentication so our users can sign in, analytics and A/B testing so we can find out how our users are really interacting with our app, some crash reporting or performance monitoring, and an easy way to save our users' data to the cloud. Luckily, that's where Firebase comes in. Now, the new and improved Firebase plugin in Android Studio makes this simple. I'll start by adding some analytics so I can find out exactly how our users are interacting with our app. And the plugin does most of the work to get the library integrated into my project. Now that I've done that, well, we can get an instance of the library up here, and then we can log what kind of results we're getting from MLKit. And then once we've done that, there's a lot of ways to get at this data. It'll start showing up here in the Firebase dashboard, but I find one really fun way of viewing this data is to use Stream View, which kind of gives you a real-timey sample of what kinds of analytics results we're seeing. Looks like I've already recorded several of these select content events, and I can dig into these event properties and see what kinds of results our users are getting, and I could start using that information to maybe refine my MLKit model or A/B test different alternatives. Firebase helps you build better apps, and analytics is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Maybe we could let our users upload their own pictures and store them in the cloud using cloud storage for Firebase. There's so many possibilities.
This is a sample app, but if we were to productize this, it's important to keep in mind how our AI design decisions impact our users. For instance, we need to consider if and/or how it makes sense to display confidence intervals to help your users interpret the ML model output. Or say how you design the onboarding experience sets user expectations for the capabilities and limitations of your ML-based app, which is vital to app adoption and engagement. For more guidance on AI design decisions, check out the People Plus AI Guidebook at pair.withgoogle.com/guidebook. This use case focuses on plant diseases, but for other use cases where our ML-based predictions intersect with people or communities, we absolutely need to think about responsible AI themes like privacy and fairness, which you can learn more about at tensorflow.org/resources/responsible-AI.
And don't forget about the web. I've built a PWA that can be installed across all your users' platforms. It combines the web camera with TensorFlow.js, and by integrating machine learning, we can make an amazing experience that runs across all browsers. Now let's take a look. We have our standard project layout with a HTML file, a manifest, and a service worker to make it a PWA. We have some styles to make it look good, and our data folder that contains our TensorFlow configuration and trained model that we're going to use in the app. Now to the heart of the project. Let's go back to the HTML file and see what's happening. We're also loading a webcam object. This is just a class that wraps some boilerplate logic to make it easier to pass camera data from getUserMedia to TensorFlow. And now we can index there. So I'm just using phone and then here. And this is only so you can kind of see how easy it is to integrate machine learning into your application. Let's start by clicking the classify button, get the machine learning gears into action, and immediately we break into the TensorFlow tidy function. This is just there to help you kind of clean up any of the memory that TensorFlow uses whilst it makes a prediction. We get our image from the web camera, and then we pass our image back into the machine learning algorithm to make it a prediction. And once we've got a prediction, we access the data, and then we can use that data to update the user interface kind of based on any application logic that we want. And that's pretty much it.
Great. So now you have the platform for building a real app. With the tooling from Android Studio, the APIs from CameraX, Jetpack, MLKit, Colab, TensorFlow, Firebase, Chrome, and Google Cloud, you have a lot of things that just work better together. This isn't a finished project by any means, just a proof of concept for how a minimum viable product with a roadmap to completion can be put together using Google's developer tools and APIs.
You might also want to open source this project too, so developers can suggest improvements, optimizations, and even additional features by filing an issue or sending a pull request. It's a great way to get your hard work in front of even more people. We'd love to help you with this, and you can learn more about the process at opensource.guide/startingaproject. Indeed, we've already open sourced the bean disease sample we discussed in this video, so you can have a great place to start.
Thanks, Pooja. And as you mentioned, open sourcing a project is a great way to make it grow and inspire people to adopt and extend it. If you want to learn more about what you've seen in this video, please visit us at developers.google.com.
Hi, developers. My name is Annie Jean-Baptiste, and I'm the head of product inclusion at Google. The demo you just saw shows how Google's products can come together to create an amazing app. But what about product inclusion? You may be wondering, well, what is product inclusion and why is it important? At Google, we believe that giving power to new voices is the core of innovation. When we bring an inclusive lens to the product design process, we amplify underrepresented voices and allow all users to feel seen and validated in the moments that matter for them. We look beyond ourselves and seek out diverse voices to shape the products that we build. We also believe that we have a responsibility not to disappoint our users, no matter who they are, what they look like, how much money they make, who they love, how old they are, or anything that makes them them. And when we make difference the new normal, we will usher in new opportunities to grow our business by earning the love of all of our users. So whether you're 1 or 105 years old, live in a city or a remote village, on Wi-Fi or cellular service, Google is there for you to make sure you have the answers you need when you need them. Product inclusion is exactly what it sounds like, bringing an inclusive lens throughout the entire product design process to create more inclusive products for our users. And so when you're developing your own apps, I challenge you to incorporate the principles of product inclusion into the design process, because we believe that you can do well and do good by being intentional about including underrepresented voices at key points in the product design process. Remember, those closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. You can learn more about product inclusion at Google by visiting accelerate.withgoogle.com. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Cole, and I'm the Global Developer Communities Program Manager at Google. Now it's time to meet and hear from your local developers. So, what can you expect next from your local DevFest? We'll have technical talks, breakout sessions, networking opportunities, and more. These sessions will cover a variety of technologies, such as Android, Google Cloud Platform, machine learning with TensorFlow, web, Firebase, Google Assistant, and Flutter, with speakers from Google, women tech makers, Google developer experts, and your local community. Be sure to claim your badge for participating in DevFest 2020 by going to google.dev/devfest2020. You can earn even more badges by mastering different Google technologies available on developers.google.com/learn. As a reminder, one of the most important parts of DevFest is providing an inclusive and harassment-free experience for everyone. As an active participant of DevFest, today, we can all agree to treat everyone with respect and to speak up if we see or experience harassment of any kind. Together, we can create an environment that is welcoming and inclusive to everyone with us here today. Follow @GDG on Twitter for highlights from DevFest around the world, and try out the DevFest AR filter and avatar. Share what you're learning or your favorite part about the event on social media with #DevFest. And lastly, don't forget community is all about getting to know one another. Use the virtual breakout rooms and chat feature to connect with other developers near you with shared interests. We hope you enjoyed DevFest 2020.
So that keynote speech has really drilled our minds to exactly what GDG is all about. Even more so, the potential that GDG in the community Aba can actually provide and actually grow our careers and build solutions. So if you are on this call and you've not actually joined the official GDG community, I am sharing a link now on this chat section. So please fill in your details and get added to the official GDG community, so we can keep posted, increase our learning, and build amazing stuff that solves problems. All right, so with that, because of time, we will proceed ASAP. So this next section, although targeted to Android developers, everyone can learn. Everyone uses an Android app. Everyone actually visits the Play Store, download a few apps, update, and delete some apps. We will have Daniel Garfield in the building. Daniel is a developer advocate at Google, has been on the Android team for over 10 years. He's going to talk to us about publishing APK files, which has been replaced with the app bundles on Google Play Store. Let's give him the floor. Daniel, you're listening. Hello, Daniel. We can't hear you. Are you talking?
I had such a really nice introduction, and now can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right, so I was gonna say it's 4:30. It's 4:13 in the morning here in Mountain View. So I apologize for any lack of clarity that I might have, but it's great to be here. And I'm a developer advocate on the Android team at Google. I've been here, as I said, for about 10 years. And this is all about the end of the APK, the publishing format, but really the beginning of a much better publishing solution for developers. And I was curious in general, you can respond in the chat, how many people here are Android developers or have published something on the Play Store? Just throw something into the chat so I kind of know where people are. This is all really about something that we're working on called modern Android development. This is all a set of recommended technologies that we think every Android developer should be using in their apps. So this includes a modern language, Kotlin, modern IDE, and Android Studio, modern libraries with Jetpack, and finally, modern distribution with app bundles. And that's really the center of this thing is this Android app bundle, which is a publishing format that you send to the Play console instead of using APK files. And this also requires something called Play app signing. So we'll talk about why that exists and what choices you need to make when enabling it. And I'll follow that with some app bundle basics and then survey some more advanced topics like Play feature and asset delivery, along with the additional APIs available in the Play core library. So let's get started. So what is Play app signing? it basically turns the responsibility of protecting your signing keys, the things used to sign your APKs, over to Google Play. And this was formerly called App Signing by Google Play. So it's now called Play App Signing. And that's really important because key management isn't easy. And there have been instances in the past where developers of a successful app actually lost their signing key. And because the Android security model made it actually impossible for Google to do much in this situation. There was no way to recover their key, and the developer had no way of updating their app. And so with Play App Signing, we kind of mitigate that risk. And I'm going to walk through the process of opting into Play App Signing. We recently launched a completely new and, dare I say, modern UI for the Play console, and some things have moved around, so this might not yet look familiar to you. I'll try to list the pros and cons of each of the choices. Versions, you make the app sign selection the very first time you create a release, and it's literally that modern UI, because the recommended setting of generating your signing key on Google servers is enabled by default, and you can click continue to get on with creating a release. There's also this manage preferences button where you opt into Play App Signing but don't provide an existing key, and this is the most secure option. Because if you never own the key, you can't leak it. That's why it's the recommended way to go. However, big caveat you have to be mindful about, which is that Play App Signing doesn't offer a way to actually download this generated key ever. So that's why if you need to be able to use that key for signing locally, you can't upload your own key. Of course, the downside of that is it means you're responsible for managing that key. And again, we still, even if you upload a key, we don't ever provide it back to you. So you need to make sure that you manage that on your own. And then the third option is kind of specialized scenarios when you want to share data between apps. It means you can actually reuse the signing key for more than one app, and that allows you to share data in several ways within the Android platform. But most of the time, you don't want to use that for a lot of reasons. And also, also you want to use a separate app bundle upload key for each app, and those upload keys are really easy. They can be reset in the case of leakage or loss, and it looks like this in the UI. Now, to upload your own key from a Java key store, you begin by downloading a tool called PETK, which you use for encrypting the key for transfer. You can also get the source code for the tool to inspect it or use it in your own custom infrastructure for exporting keys. And at the bottom, there's this optional part that I highly recommend everyone to actually do, which is, can you not read what I'm pushing out? Just want to make sure. I was trying to make it really big by making myself small. That may not have worked. Demo is small. All right, let me, I can switch, give me 2 seconds here. I'll switch my setup around. Instead of, I don't know if this will make it any bigger, but let me try. Hold on. So what I can do is go here, like hold on. Yeah, here we are. So now that should be a little bit easier. And then I can get rid of, I'll get rid of this here. This is the only, this was a me trying to be fancy, and I should learn to be less fancy. All right, almost back. Okay, slightly less fancy. All right, let's go back to this presentation. Sorry for that delay. Hopefully this is a little bit more legible. You can get the source code for the tool to inspect this PEPKT thing I was talking about. And at the bottom, there's this optional part, which is creating a separate upload key. Again, everyone should do that. And when you open this, you're given a chance to upload your locally generated certificate with the public key, which is used to verify that any artifacts you upload to Play come from you. It won't be used for distributing apps and is stripped away from any of these artifacts in the Play console. The real key thing here is that the thing that's signing your app is not the same thing that you're using to sign the app bundle. And so if that upload key that you're using to sign the app bundle gets lost or stolen, the attacker won't be able to distribute fake copies of your app to users, and you can always reset that by contacting support. So that's important. Now, the situation for existing apps is a little different because you don't have a choice of generating the key on Play's infrastructure since there are already versions of the app published. So again, you just upload your signing key using the tool and you use a separate key. You can also continue to self-sign APKs, and we haven't actually announced any changes there. And here's how the UI looks. Again, it does the same thing. It lets you upload a key. They just use slightly different ways to achieve it. And the first one allows you to use takes a file that you can generate in Android Studio, and the second one you use the PEPK tool, and the third one lets you use PEPK source code in your custom integrations. So after Play app signing is enabled through your app, the Play app signing page will show the certificate hashes that are required to register your app with various APIs. And if you test locally using the upload certificate, you have to register both. And if you created your key a long time ago and it uses security that's considered weak today, or if your key leaks and you want to start moving to a new one to ensure safety for users, you can actually request a signing key upgrade for new installs. It isn't really called key rotation. It doesn't actually use the key rotation feature introduced in recent Android versions. It just delivers APK signed with the new key only to new app installations. So just when users change phones or uninstall the app and install it again. So it isn't an instantaneous transition, but it does help users move to the new key eventually. So hopefully at some point we'll actually have true key rotation. And one of the things that people always ask is, can you publish your app in other channel stores after opting in to Play app signing? And the answer is yes. You can choose to, 3 ways of doing it. You can upload your own key and just continue to use it. Use the key stored on Play infrastructure and use this thing called the App Bundle Explorer, which I'll talk about later, to download outside universal APKs for distribution. Or you can use a different signing key for other channels. That just means that you can't update the same app from multiple channels. But there's no reason you can't do that. So the App Bundle Explorer is pretty cool. You can actually, this is part of the Play console, and you can get these signed APKs. You choose the version in the top right. The latest one is by default. And then you switch the download tab and you scroll all the way down. And that allows you to get that APK. So that's the basics of app signing. But what is Android App Bundle? This is actually the cool stuff as far as I'm concerned. The App Bundle is not something that's installable on Android devices. It really just exists just to upload or publish your app to the Play console. And the Play console then turns it into a set of APKs that are optimized for specific device configurations using Bundle Tool, which is an open source project on GitHub. And that provides sort of the de facto specification of the App Bundle format. So anyone can use it, any storefront can use it. And previously, when we talked about bundles and generating optimized APKs, we also used the term dynamic delivery, but due to recent naming changes, we're not using it anymore. It was kind of confusing. So if you see that someplace, don't worry about it. Of course, to be able to upload it to Play, you also have to opt into app signing, which I covered in the previous section. And there's lots of benefits for using this, because instead of shipping the same universal APK with everyone, which has tons of potentially unused assets and NDK libraries, the Play Store actually creates these more efficient APKs on your behalf that deliver only the resources for the user's device, screen density, CPU, and potentially even selected language. And you could do things like splitting screen density and ABI before using multi-APK, but it was very hard to manage and few apps really did it. So now with these app bundles, you have a single artifact and most importantly, a single version code per upload. And the best thing is that with these app bundles, we actually are working on more optimizations in the future as we're adding them without the developer actually having to go into work. So hopefully this just gets better and better over time. And an example we just recently added with serving uncompressed native libraries for smaller updates and on-device size for devices that support it. And lastly, with bundles, you can use things like play feature delivery and play asset delivery, which I'll cover next. One thing I did want to mention is normally there aren't many things you might need to change or add to your application code to use bundles, but there is one configuration block in the build files that might be useful for some situations. For example, if your app has a dynamic language switcher inside of the app that assumes that all languages are installed, you might want to disable splitting by languages. For that use case, however, you can even use the PlayCore API to dynamically request language installation at runtime, but it would require some coding. So because there are so many benefits for you and your users, we're encouraging everyone to switch to using app bundles. And we've recently announced that app bundles will be a requirement for new applications on Google Play sometime next year. Until then, we're kind of gathering feedback to make sure we aren't missing anything in terms of developer experience with bundles. So let's talk about play feature delivery. It takes advantage of feature modules present in app bundles and delivers them on demand at install time, conditionally or as an instant experience. They can contain code, resources, and assets, and they're intended for apps that have like a particular use case, needs these kind of custom delivery types, are very large, or app developers that just want to optimize the app size as small as possible. But it's really common, like, hey, there's a feature that we only know 5% of the users use. We, instead of forcing everyone to download it, we're going to make that a dynamic feature. And that serves especially larger apps really, really well. One thing that has changed, if you've used any of this before, is that as of Gradle plugin 4.20, we actually now make install time develop modules non-removable by default. And this is just so we can make the file distribution more optimal, essentially, for everyone. Now, one other wrinkle in app bundles is that we don't support Android OBB files with them. And if you've been publishing games on Android for a long time or seen how games are distributed, that's how we traditionally dealt with games that were larger than 150 megabytes. So we needed another solution, and that is this thing called Play Asset Delivery, which we introduced earlier this year. And we basically just extended that app bundle format to include game assets in the form of these asset packs, and they don't contain executable code, and they can be very, very large, and they're packaged in the app bundle right alongside your game binary. And so you rely on, again, the same artifact. And what's really cool about this is that even for a very large game, you can actually let Google Play deal with all of the kind of maintaining these assets and making sure that the correct versions are always installed, which is kind of nice compared to kind of doing kind of roll your own solutions. And we actually support 3 different kinds of delivery: install time, on demand, or fast follow. And fast follow is really kind of interesting because it was something you just couldn't do before. But basically, after a user installs the game, additional assets will stream down. The assumption is the game can work, but it may not have all of the assets it needs yet to either get the highest quality or to get through all of the content. So we'll just start streaming the rest of the content down until, as long as the user is on a reasonable network, and that means that they're going to have a better experience when they first open the app, particularly if those assets are needed. The APIs that we use to dynamically uninstall feature modules and asset packs are found in this thing called the PlayCore library. And that it does a whole bunch of really cool stuff. It actually, in addition to that, it also supports directly calling for in-app updates and in-app reviews. And that's really keen, particularly for a lot of games, but also for apps where you say, okay, I really need everyone to update now. The old app isn't compatible. It's in back end. You can actually call out to the user to say, hey, please update this now. And it's this kind of very nice flow within your app. In-app reviews are nice too, because that helps drive people to actually try to use the app. And what's cool is that we've actually built coroutines and KTX extension versions of all of these things. So the PlayCore library is really nice if you're working in Kotlin already. And one of the other things that we've done since we launched all of this is we've really improved the local testing story for all of this. So Bundle Tool allows you to build APKs for local testing, and it's very, very easy to do this all from the command line. You build this APK set, passing in the local testing mode, and then you can just push the device using the Bundle Tool install APKs command. So PlayCore automatically detects the local testing mode and uses a different implementation for these splitter asset install managers that install them from local storage rather than play. So if you're actually saying, hey, I want to get this dynamic feature module, you don't actually have to have it something on play to start testing that, which is really, really cool. Early versions of this, you needed that. So they've done a lot of work there. We have this play core KTX sample, which shows how to use all these things together, along with things like local testing, and includes in-app updates and in-app reviews. So it's a nice sample. We also have a whole bunch of samples in Code Labs for how to use play asset delivery in games, including a bunch of stuff for Unity. One of my favorite things that we also have done to make it easier to use app bundles is this feature called internal app sharing. So once you've actually published something to Google Play, you actually can now share debug versions of the APK very, very easily between testers through Google Play. You actually go into Google Play and you unlock this debug version. If you've unlocked the developer APIs inside of Android, it's the same thing. You tap the version number, and then you can turn on internal app sharing. And this means Play is responsible for downloading these things, which are built off of app bundles. So you can actually test the app bundle very, very easily, and with the exact way it's going to be delivered from Play without even having to upload a full artifact. So you can just literally just shove these things up onto Play, and then the App Bundle Explorer allows you to download those or any other versions that might exist. So it's really, really cool, and it allows you to iterate really, really quickly over app bundles compared to kind of what we had before. And that's pretty much it for me. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Dan. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Dan. That was a very nice section. Actually available to Android developers who push out content to the Google Play Store often. So I know we have Android developers in this call. And so do you have any questions regarding what Dan has just presented to us? Please drop that in the comment section. I can take 1 or 2 questions if there are any.
It doesn't have to be
now, right?
And it doesn't have to be anything even on this conversation. You want to ask me any other questions? I know other things. I'll simply say I don't know if I don't know the answer. So
yeah, so you have that. So basically anything around the Android platform, he definitely have answer to that. So let's take 1 or 2 questions. All right, so in absence of that, yeah, we can share your contact. You can also reach out to him on Twitter. You can drop his details, Twitter, email is comfortable with on the chat. So you can also reach out to him if you have any questions later on. Thank you very much, Dan. Really appreciate you coming around despite your busy schedule. It's still 4 a.m. in the morning over there, right?
4:30. 4:30 now.
4:30. So. All right. Thank you very much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. I'm probably gonna head off shortly. So.
All right. So moving forward, we are going to take another section from. Okay, let me present this so you can see this. A moment. Yep. All right. So up next is the interview with Amarachi Aba. So Amarachi is going to be telling her story from the Aba community to building amazing solutions for Andela, one of the leading tech giants in Africa. So the journey and lessons learned are what Amarachi is going to be highlighting. So unfortunately, Amarachi won't be joining us live, but she did record a video as a patience we gave her to discuss. So she'll be doing just that via a video. Let's give her attention. Moment. Okay. All right. So if you can't hear, just let me know.
Hello everyone, and welcome to DevFest Aba 2020. My name is Amarachi. I'm a software developer, and I'm excited to be here with you guys to share my story in tech. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first question goes, tell us a bit about yourself. How and when did you venture into tech? So I obtained my bachelor's degree from the University of Benin in computer engineering in 2015. So after that, I was posted to Niger State, where I did my youth service. So during my youth service, I was privileged to work in a PPA where they taught girls how to code using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So during that period, I had to learn these technologies to be able to train these girls. So also in the year 2017, I got introduced to Django Girls. So Django Girls is an organization that teaches girls how to code using Python and Django. So I attended two of these events in Mina, Niger State, and in Abuja. So after these two events, I went on to coach at other Django Girls. So I also went on to organize another one in Aba. That was Django Girls Aba 2017. So another major event that happened in 2017 was me joining ALC 1.0. So I joined the ALC community and I was able to finish the program. So fast forward to the tail end of 2017, my boss at my PPA was like, Amara, Andela is recruiting software developers. Why not try and see whether you get in? I was not confident in my skills, but I still decided to take the plunge. So I applied, I took the home study, and I got into the bootcamp. So the bootcamp was a major shocker for me because I came across things that I had never worked with before or even heard before. And I was asked to build a full stack application using these technologies. So it was very difficult for me. And unfortunately, I didn't make it in. So I returned back I think that was December 2017, and I tried again. So eventually I got into Andela during that period. So that was how my tech journey officially started. So what difficulties have I faced on my way in tech, especially at the early stage? I think two difficulties come to mind. So the first difficulty was the challenge of learning a lot of things within a short period of time. So one thing that Andela is known for is their approach of learning. So first of all, is you own your own learning. And the second approach is you learn by doing. So even though we were being trained to become world-class developers, like everyone had to own their own learning. So that means you get to look out for resources, read. Nobody's going to teach you. Yeah, actually going to do these things by yourself, and then whatever you're learning, you're building alongside. So it was challenging because we had to deliver 2 projects within a space of 3 months, and for these 2 projects they operated in different technologies. So I had to learn the technology for the first project and the technologies for the second one and contribute alongside my team. So that was challenging because like there were days that you wouldn't even like get a full night's sleep because we were trying to meet up with deadlines and stuff like that. But that period of my life, I would say it was worthwhile. I learned a lot of things. Like I really learned within a short period of time. So another challenge I encountered at the early stage was being open to feedback. So for some reason, I was always shy. I didn't really want to share my work. I didn't want people to say, oh, what is this that you've done? Like I was really like closed to feedback. So it was difficult for me to like get my work to the point where I wanted it to be. But eventually along the way, I became more open. I could ask developers, oh, what do you think about my approach? What do you think about what I've done? And get good feedback and then improve the work that I had done. So those were my 2 difficulties, like reaching out for help and feedback and then learning new things in a short period of time. So how long have I been in tech and what word will I describe my experience so far? So I've been in tech for 3 years. I started tech 2017, like I mentioned earlier. So my experience so far, like it has been challenging but rewarding at the same time. So one thing I always knew leaving school was that I wanted a job that would be mentally engaging for me. So I didn't really know what the job was, but I knew that any job that I eventually got, I wanted it to be something that would engage my brain. So tech does that for me. So even though tech is challenging because like it can be tough to learn new things and then it can be tough to build something from scratch, right? But it's rewarding because at the end of the day, when you are done with a project and you get to see, oh, these are all the things I've learned along the way, and this is the finished product. So you are proud of yourself and what you have done. So it has been a rewarding experience in that regard. Also, it has been rewarding in the aspect of meeting a lot of new people. So far in my journey, I've been privileged to work in distributed teams, work with people from different cultures. So as a result of that, I've learned a lot of things from people, and I've implemented it in my own life, right, to improve and become a better software engineer and even a better person. So from communication to learning coding standards to building world-class products. So these are things that I've learned and picked up along the way. So, and for that, I'm grateful because I can look back at 2017 and be like, wow, I've really come a long way. So that has been my experience so far in tech. So what advice do I have for a newbie or intermediate techie who dreams to make more impact beyond or in their current location? So I think I have three pieces of advice for a newbie or an intermediate techie. So the first one will be, yeah, you want to make an impact beyond your current location. Start to think and act beyond your current location. So say, for instance, you want to become a world-class developer. You should not be looking at what is prevalent in your local community. If developers in your local community just write code anyhow or deliver any kind of work, and you know that you want to impact people around the world, you should not be looking at them for inspiration. So you should be looking at mentors outside your local community that are doing what you're doing so that you can be inspired and you can learn from them to do more. So, and for instance, let's say that people in your local community, they write code, right? They don't have tests, they push to master, they don't follow GitHub conventions, they don't follow good coding standards. They should not be the one you're looking up to. Look for articles, look for people to follow that do these things, people that their work speaks for itself, and people that you want to be like.